right, so costing out our food costs. This will come up here in just one moment. We're going to finish up this chapter 3, and then we're going to go over some other math as soon as this chapter 3 presentation is. Okay, so what is a standardized recipe? In your own words, what is a standardized recipe? David.
A recipe that can be mass distributed for various locations to use as a basis or foundation to build upon.
Okay, good. So, but that recipe that can be distributed, and what is the purpose of a standardized recipe? What is one reason why we have standardized recipes? So everything is consistent. Okay? When we talk about that cost of one cupcake, we need to make sure that that recipe is consistent. If the person icing the cupcake is using 3 ounces of icing instead of 2 ounces of icing, what is that going to do?
It's going to mess up your cost.
It's going to mess up our cost. That means it costs us more money to make that cupcake than what we're still selling it for the same price based on the standardized recipe. Okay? So that standardized recipe helps us set the price of what we're going to sell something for, but it keeps that consistency. And why is consistency important? Besides food costs, why is consistency important? Ty, why do you think it's important to be consistent? Ty. Good. Everybody gets the same thing. If somebody comes to you and you get the 3 ounce icing cupcake and your friend walks up there the 2 ounce icing cupcake, they're probably going to get real jealous that you got more icing. Unless you're one of those weird people that just don't like icing at all. Okay? So we want to make sure that everything is consistent. And that's the reason why we have those standardized recipes. It does take us a little bit of time to develop those. How many of you have ever created your own recipe? Okay. You made up soup? Did you recreate it?
Yes.
You did? How many times did you have to recreate it?
I was little.
Okay.
And I didn't cook the pasta right. It came out good.
Good. So what about yours?
Oh, just cakes.
Okay.
So I just use that same base for different recipes, just add to it percentages, and then from there just do the costing.
Good, good. Okay, so you have that basic cake recipe, and then you can add to it.
I have everything.
What else? Who else has created their own recipe? Shawan, what recipe did you create? Okay, on what? Baked ziti, okay. So, have you recreated it over and over again? Did you change things from time to time? Yeah, why?
The texture had to change up the type of vegetables, the cut of the vegetables.
Okay.
And also, get the cost down.
Yeah, to actually make it affordable, to make it profitable, you have to adjust different items and different recipes and different ingredients. So that's the whole process. You start with this idea, you create the recipe, you taste it, see what it's like, you actually cost it out, and then you need to make some changes as we go. Our baked ziti might be the most amazing thing, but if it costs us $20 to make our baked ziti, that means we're going to sell it for what? 40, 50 bucks? Are people going to pay 50 bucks for a baked ziti? Probably not. Okay, so we have to go through it and go through that process of refining the recipe. And then once we have that recipe and we can put it out for production, then it produces that consistency. Okay, it produces that same expectation. The guests are going to get the same flavor every time they come in and order that item. Okay, so with that, we have our product specifications. Okay, so like Shawan said, she had to edit or she had to change and revise the types of vegetables or the cuts of the vegetables to make sure that the consistency, they weren't too mushy or they weren't too big and they took them too long to bake, whatever. We had to adjust that. So those product specifications like, remember we talked about quality and quantity specifications? We talked about that, remember? Yes, I know it's been 2 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so who can give me an example of an ingredient that we use in the kitchen? Apples. What is a quality specification of apples?
Green apples over red.
Green. Red. Oh, sorry? Gala apples. Say it again. Granny Smith apples.
Grateful's.
Honey Crisp.
Honey Crisp. Okay? All of these have specific purposes. Some of them have a different moisture content, some of them have a different flavor profile, and we can't necessarily use them interchangeably. If we want to have an apple pie, what apple do we typically use? A Granny Smith apple, right? Because it has that nice tart flavor to it. But if we're doing something else, and we want something a little bit like milder flavor, then we're going to use a different apple. So the product specifications are key in the ingredients when we're doing our okay. So here we have our standardized recipe. What's one part of this? The very top. What's the very top of it? The name. What the recipe is. Okay? The name is the part. The other part of it, we have how much it yields. What does that mean in like layman's terms?
How much it makes.
How much it makes.
Mm-hmm.
So out of this recipe, I expect to get 3 quarts of sauce. From there, I get how many ounces my portion is, so I can figure out what my costs or what my portions are. I get 24 portions out of those 3 quarts of sauce. Okay? How can I, as a manager, how can I make sure that we're being consistent and only serving 4 ounces?
Right. Utensils.
Right ladles, the right ladles, the right utensils that we're serving it. If it's a 2-ounce ladle, it's 2 scoops. If it's a 4-ounce ladle, it's 1 scoop. Okay? We have to keep that consistency. How many of y'all have ever been prep cooks? Okay, what about line cooks? How many of you have no idea what I just said? You have no idea what the difference between a prep cook and a line cook is. Okay? It's okay if you don't. Anybody?
What's your
Okay,
definition?
so a prep cook is somebody who's going back and they're prepping things, they're getting things ready for the line cooks to actually produce them, okay? So for example, this is my experience, okay? For example, as a prep cook, I'm going to make this pasta sauce. I'm also going to boil 20 pounds of pasta. Parboil it, so it's not quite done yet, just barely before it's done, okay? And then, per my standard recipe, I will pull that pasta, cool it, and I'm going to weigh it on a scale, and there's 4 ounces of pasta, I'm going to put it in a little baggie. And I'm going to seal that baggie, I'm going to put a day sticker on it, meaning that I made this on Tuesday, okay? Every single one. I'm going to portion it into 4-ounce portions. That way the line cook, I don't have time as a line cook to take raw pasta, dry pasta, and put it in boiling water to get it to boil to then serve it 4 ounces at a time. I can't do that, okay? And so what a line cook does is they take all those nicely, neatly prepared baggies of pasta that have been chilled, they take it out, throw it into some simmering water, get it up to temperature, the last minute or so of cooking process so it's perfectly al dente, drain that pasta, throw my 4 ounces of sauce on there, boom, and I send it out. It expedites that process. So the prep cooks are following this recipe. The line cooks are executing everything. Okay? Any questions, comments, concerns about that? So now we can cost it out. Okay? We can cost it out. We have what our recipe amount is. We need 1 pint of olive oil. Okay, this is going to make a little bit more sense on next week on Wednesday when we actually cost out a recipe. I'm going to give you the form that we're actually going to use. This will hopefully make a lot more sense on Wednesday next week. We're going to spend quite a bit of time doing that. Okay, our invoice cost. Where do we get our invoice cost from? From the invoice. That is also known as the as purchased cost. Okay, as purchased cost, AP cost, from the recipe or for the invoice. Okay, the invoice unit, we buy 4 gallons of olive oil at $112 for 4 gallons. Do my recipe unit and invoice unit match?
No.
No. Pints to gallons, they don't match. So I have to do some conversions. Okay. Typically the way we do it is you go down to the cost of one recipe unit. Take that cost out of one recipe unit. And then that way all you have to do is this amount times the cost of one unit, and that gives you your recipe cost. Okay? Yes, I buy olive oil for $112, but I don't just use that olive oil in my pasta sauce. I might use it in a vinaigrette. I might use it for sauteing. Okay? And so in that recipe, I only actually use $3.50 of that $112 to produce this one recipe of sauce. Okay? So you do that for every single menu item. Okay? Now, depending on your chef, depending on the method that you go with, these incidental things like sugar, salt, whatever, typically salt will cost out to less than a penny. So you always round up to a penny. Pepper, based on the amount, sugar. So in this case, you can see they just added 10 cents for each one. Okay? Sometimes you cost it all the way out to what it actually costs, and sometimes you just put a flat number. Okay? It's going to cover that cost. So now our portion cost is 33 cents. Portion cost for 33 cents. Spaghetti, which is 4 ounces of pasta. You pay $1, right, for pasta at H-E-B. A pound of spaghetti, 16 ounces. So divide that into 4. 25 cents. 25 cents plus 33 cents. 58 cents, right? No. Yeah, 58 cents. 58 cents to make pasta, a spaghetti dish. What do we sell spaghetti for? $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, depending on where you're at. $10. It costs you 58 cents to make it. Okay? So this is just the sauce and the spaghetti. If you had a protein, like a chicken breast, or you had shrimp, all those things, those would go into that standardized recipe. Okay? And so as we talk about a standardized recipe, we want to know what our portion size is. And our portion size, so in this case, we had 4 ounces of sauce and 4 ounces of pasta. So those are by weight. Okay, those are by weight. Actually, I take that back. The pasta is by weight, the sauce is by volume. Okay? Weight is things that you weigh. Volume is typically liquids. And then count is the number of things on a plate. So what are some other things besides pasta that we serve by the weight? Meat. Okay, so meat is typically something we're going to do by the weight. So you get a 16-ounce steak, or you have a 1/4 pound hamburger. Okay, that is the weight of that piece of meat. Okay, volume. What other things besides sauce do we use for volume measurements? Soup, right? So if it's a cup of soup, it's a 4-ounce ladle. If it's a bowl of soup, it's a 6-ounce or an 8-ounce scoop. Okay? So soup is by volume. What else? What other liquids do we serve? Dressings, what? Drinks, beverages, juice, milk, alcoholic beverages. Okay? So all of those things are done by volume, and then count. What do we serve by count? Think about something you've eaten out recently. What's that? Yeah, nuggets, tenders.
The meatballs.
The meatballs.
Garden, they sell them. If you want an extra meatball, they sell them individually.
Okay, so if you want an extra meatball at Olive Garden, they're going to charge you extra for that extra meatball. Anybody ever eaten at Maggiano's? So Maggiano's, it's an Italian restaurant. There's one out at the Rim. It's really good. They do like $12.95 pastas, and they take one home. Like they give you another one to take home with you. So it's really awesome. And each one is like 2 meals in itself. So it's like really like 4 meals for $12, $13. It's really good. Maggiano's. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. They have a spaghetti and meatball as one of their pasta, like one of their signature pastas. And I'm like, spaghetti and meatball?
What, boring?
But then I got it, and it literally is like a softball, no, not quite softball. It's like a baseball-sized meatball. I'm like, oh yeah, there is literally one meatball in this pasta. But it was real good. It was huge. So let's talk about like a menu item. Let's use a salad as our example. Okay, so here's our salad bowl. What in our salad do we sell by the weight? The lettuce, okay? So let's say we have, what, 2 ounces of greens, okay? What about in the volume? Our salad dressing, we do 2 ounces of blue cheese dressing, okay? And then what about count?
Tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes.
Tomatoes. So we do cherry tomatoes, we do 3 tomatoes. We might do
Croutons? No.
cucumbers. The croutons you might do by weight, or you might just do like a little handful.
But unless they make them,
Unless they make them, yeah, true.
you know.
Absolutely. So here you can see that you can combine these portion sizes, concepts, all in one dish, okay? So it's not just that only beverages are volume, okay? We can combine all these concepts with portion sizes. It's our responsibility to make sure that these portion sizes are being adhered to, okay? Who is typically the last line of defense between the line and the table? The expediter or the expo, okay? Expediter, expo. Anybody ever do expediter or expo? Whew. I tried that one time at TGI Fridays, and I'm like, nope, I'm gonna go back to wait tables. I don't need this. Right? That was not for me. So what is expo? Sin, what does expo do?
Expo is sitting up at the window and bringing tickets, making sure your pan or your tray has everything that's going out to that table and everything on the plate looks exactly the same.
Exactly, right? So when let's say I'm the line cook, okay? I have an order for a steak with a baked potato, loaded baked potato, and broccoli, okay? I have that plate, I put the steak on the plate. I have my little temperature, little toothpick in there so we know which steak is medium rare, which one is medium, okay? I take that little plastic baggie of broccoli that I've just steamed, and I put that baggie of broccoli on the plate. When that plate hits the table, is that broccoli still in a bag?
No.
No, it better not be, okay? So, we put a little baggie of broccoli. Why do I not just dump that broccoli on the plate?
It's gonna be cold.
It could die in the window. The heat from the lamps could cook that broccoli a little bit more, right? It would die in the window. So we kind of keep it nice and contained until we're ready for it. And then I put a baked potato up there. Do I put sour cream or anything on it?
No.
No, that's the expo's job. So all I literally have is I have an expo and I have a plate, I have a window full of food. I see my ticket, I need a plate that has a medium well done steak with a baked potato and broccoli. I was like, oh, here's my plate. I take it down, I empty that broccoli out, put it on the plate in the exact spot it needs to be, and then I look at that ticket and it says loaded baked potato, no chives. And so then I put my butter, my sour cream, my bacon bits, and then I send it out. That's what the expo does. They're the last line of defense to make sure that everything looks to the specs or to the specifications that it needs to. That way the guest gets everything consistent every single time. Okay?
Hourly or salary?
It depends on where you are. It depends on where you are, to be honest. Okay, so our standard portion costs. We need to figure out what our standard portion cost is. We're going to go over this a little bit today in the second half of class. We're going to go from our as purchased units to our edible portions. Okay? What is edible portion? Isaiah, what do you think edible portion is?
No part.
The part that you eat. Okay? So, Christian, what is the as purchased?
How much it costs to
Yeah.
make it?
So how much we bought it for.
Yeah.
Okay, how much we bought it for. So you think about this. We've got 10 pounds of onion diced, but we actually started with 11 pounds of onions with the skin on. So we start with 11 pounds. We bought 11 pounds, but after I peel it and I slice it or dice it, I only have 10 pounds left. That means I lost how much? 1 pound. Okay? I lost 1 pound. But we can actually do this as a percentage. So that means we have a yield percentage. So everyone, you can draw your triangle again. The same concept works for this. Okay? What is the whole number? 11 pounds, which is how much we bought it. That's how much we purchased. So that is our as purchased on the bottom. And then, Isaiah, what do we have left over? What is that called? The edible portion or edible yield. Okay? That's the part. The triangle works the same way, part over the whole. And so you can utilize this as this tool to help you figure out how much is left over. So let's use this example. 10 pounds is our edible portion. 11 pounds, what we started with. What is our answer? 91%. That means our edible portion for onions is 91%. We can expect that we're going to lose a pound or 9% of whatever we purchase. Do we always purchase things in 11-pound bags of onions? No. What happens when we actually purchase a 50-pound bag? So if I purchase a 50-pound bag and I can use this 91%, now we're multiplying because we're looking for this edible portion. So now we have percent times our as purchased. So what is 50 pounds times 0.91? 45.5. So I can expect when I purchase a 50-pound bag of onions, I'm only going to get 45.5 pounds out of that because my percentage is 91%. Okay? Now, those 9 pounds of, or that 1 pound of onion skins and onion little pieces and whatnot, do we have to throw them away?
No.
No, what can we do with them? Make a stock out of it. So we can still use the whole product, just maybe not by serving it like diced onions, right? It's not edible. It will be edible once we use that stock to make a soup or a sauce or whatever. Chef Costello had a really great example. He did a special in-service training for cafeteria ladies that worked at different high schools around here, different elementary schools. And he gave them all a big, nice thing of broccoli. And the first thing she did, she chopped it off and tossed the stalk in the trash. And he was like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? She's like, well, that's what we do. Nobody eats the stalk, so we just throw it right away. And it wasn't on their lesson plan, but he took that as an opportunity to say, no, 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 we don't do that. Let me show you now how to make broccoli cheese soup.
Mm-hmm.
Kids will eat broccoli cheese soup. And so we take that stalk, we keep that portion, and we make a velouté, we dice up that stalk, blend it in to make a broccoli cheese soup, and now we've increased the amount of product that we actually get to use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've increased that yield factor. We want to because we pay for 11 pounds of onions. We pay for it. But if we only use 10 pounds to actually produce something, we're only getting money for 10 pounds of onions, like as far as sales. When I worked at Chester's Hamburgers, so of course, when you're eating a hamburger, you don't want the little tiny inner rings of an onion. You want the nice big rings of the outside of the onion. And so what we would actually do is I would cut all my onions. I just pop out that little inner ring, the very center, pop it out, put it into a little crock by itself. I collect all of those. And then when somebody ordered grilled onions, we just chopped those up, put some butter on it, sauteed them on the grill, and we charged 80 cents for grilled onions.
Something you were going to throw away.
Something you were going to throw away. Yeah. They've already paid for it anyway, because they've paid for the onion on their burger, right? So then we're actually grilling it, and we're going to charge them a little extra because the butter and the thyme or whatever.
Yeah.
But you think about these are different ways that you can maximize your profit. Rather than just tossing things away, you can maximize it, okay? When I was in Maine as a cook, I would make spaghetti every Sunday night. The first Sunday of every camp session, it was spaghetti and meat sauce because, that's kind of like a home-cooked meal. They're away from home for the first time. And so kind of that comfort food. But I never knew how much spaghetti to make. And I never wanted to run out of spaghetti because it's the first meal. You don't want to run out of food on the first meal. And so I had all this extra cooked pasta. I'm like, what do I do with this? Have I told you this before? Maybe, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then one day I was on Facebook scrolling and I saw a recipe for beef and broccoli lo mein noodles.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, they literally are using spaghetti in this beef and broccoli lo mein. They're not actually using lo mein noodles, they're literally using spaghetti. And so what I did is I took soy sauce, brown sugar, ginger, and garlic, made a little sauce, tossed my already cooked spaghetti noodles from Sunday. Usually Wednesday or Thursday was Asian night, so I give them a little bit of a break between actually eating the spaghetti. And I tell them, hey guys, afterwards, I'm like, how was the food? They all liked it, of course, because my food's amazing. But then I was like, do y'all realize that you ate the spaghetti from Sunday night? You ate that pasta again. And all I did was toss it with some soy sauce, ginger, garlic, brown sugar, and then I put like those bags of frozen Asian blend vegetables on top and made it look like a nice little buffet presentation. But I'm using the exact same things that I would have thrown away. Okay. When I went back in 2015, I came in under budget by $3,000. The cook before me, the year before in 2014, went over budget by $3,000. Because every night when dinner was done, everything went in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
It took me about a good week and a half to 2 weeks to train the staff. They wanted to help me clean up, which I'm all about, but it took me about a week and a half to 2 weeks to train them to be like, you don't throw anything away. I will find a way to reuse that in some way, so that way I can save on my cost. Okay. So in this example right here, y'all done? How many of you have taken basic skills, basic food prep, or you're in it right now? Okay. Basic food prep, you will do a cook loss test where you start with a whole brisket. You trim it, you get ready for preparation, you cook it, then whatever is usable is what we can actually use. So this is our edible portion. Our raw is our as purchased. Okay? And so in this case, we did 5 different briskets, and we take an average, and that average is 50%. So our average yield percentage is 50%. That means we're losing half of our product.
Mm-hmm.
That's why brisket is so expensive. Because it's expensive to buy. Have y'all ever looked at buying a brisket, like a whole brisket?
Mm-hmm.
They are not cheap.
40 something.
And then you're going to lose half that product just in the cooking process. Okay, and so we're going to talk today in the second half of class about how we cost out something that we lose that product, how we cost that out. So customer substitutions and additions. How many of you, be honest, how many of y'all are like, I want extra dressing on the side when I order a salad?
Sometimes.
Okay, I want extra dressing on the side.
Sometimes.
Do you realize that you're driving up the person's food cost? Because they probably cost out 2 ounces of dressing, but you're going to ask for 4 ounces of dressing. Okay? No judgment. That's okay. But if that's your restaurant, let's now put yourself in the shoes of that restaurant owner. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I can see that we're always losing so much dressing. We're always doing extra dressing on the side. So what you can do is you can update your recipe card.
Yeah.
If my standard recipe says I get 2 ounces of dressing, why don't you just make your actual salad dressing, your actual recipe card, at 3 ounces of dressing?
Mm-hmm.
Your serving size is still 2 ounces, right? So your serving size is still 2 ounces, but you cost it out with 3 ounces in the recipe. That means every time somebody doesn't order dressing on the side, you're making a little bit more money. But every time that somebody does ask for dressing on the side, it's already covered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're covering your cost. So your standardized recipe amount, what you're costing it out, can be slightly different from what you're actually serving to make sure you're covering those costs. Okay? And then our plate costs. There's going to be an online assignment for plate costs. I'm working on it right now. I'll probably have it up in the next day or so. So your plate costs, just like we did in the video. How many of you did not watch my video? I'm not going to be offended if you didn't. Okay, I broke my promise. I'm a little bit. Okay, so on that video, I encourage you to watch it because it talks about the cost of a taco, right? The cost of the taco, the bacon, egg, and cheese taco. So that's
It
like
was
the
fun to
same
watch.
thing. You like that, right? That
It
was
was fun to
awesome.
watch.
It's the same thing as this cupcake. So there's certain ingredients in the cupcake. There's certain ingredients in the taco.
Mhm.
And can we not all agree that the tortilla is
Oh
gonna
my
make or break the
gosh.
taco?
They,
I mean,
they're really
if it's a bad tortilla, I don't even
That's
want to eat
it.
that taco. But if it's a good one, I will eat 3. Okay? So we've got the taco, the cupcake. But then the second half of that video is the plate cost. Okay? We ate 2 hot dogs. Don't judge me. Okay? We had 2 hot dogs with cheese and mayonnaise on each one and ketchup. Okay? We had beans, chips, Topo Chico, and a Dos Equis. Okay? And so that whole plate cost us a certain amount of money. So each one of those ingredients we add all those up to make that whole plate. Okay? So you're gonna have an assignment, you're gonna cost out a breakfast plate with bacon and sausage and all that kind of fun stuff. But then today, after this video is done, we're actually gonna do one on brisket math and how do we cost out this brisket, okay? So, where are we at? We're at 8 o'clock? Okay, so any questions about this information we've covered today so far? No? Okay, we're gonna get a lot of practice. Go ahead and take about let's go like a 5-10 minute break, no more than 10 minutes, but come on back, and then we're gonna do a example of brisket math, okay?